Hello everybody. I tried making a video once, but it didn't work, so I'm going to try again. Uh, so take two. So yeah, I wanted to respond to a video from Moses McCormick entitled "You Need to Speak English." And as soon as I saw the video a few times, two, three, four times maybe, just to take it in, and I just knew that I needed to answer this question. Moses McCormick, he posed a question, and the question was, how do you feel about people who tell others to speak English, be it in their own country, for example, or Spanish speakers in the United States of America, or maybe in other countries. For example, he mentioned someone in an English speaker in France, and she was annoyed because a man didn't speak to her in English but in French. And so basically, I just think it's, well, first with the Spanish speakers in the US, it makes no sense at all. First, we shouldn't get in their business because they're working very, very, very hard, and it's probably most of their work is work that most of us probably wouldn't do anyway, so we shouldn't really write that off as saying, a lot of people say, oh, they're taking our jobs or whatever, and no, I mean, they're working very, very hard, and it's obvious. So, and if it works for them to speak Spanish with their amigos, then that's fine. Um, I mean, they're not telling us to speak Spanish. We are in the English speakers are in the majority of this country, but I think it'd be ridiculous for them to ask us as well for us to speak Spanish because there is no official language in the United States. So I think it would go both ways, but still, it's pretty ridiculous. They can speak Spanish and we can speak English, but English is the world language, and so that's why people become arrogant about. That's why people get arrogant about English sometimes. Like, why, why don't you speak English? I don't. I could see that person, that woman in France right now, just crying or about to cry. It's like, come on, just doesn't. Not everyone speaks English in the world. I think it is. That has to be the most learned language in the world. Um, a lot of people learn English. Yeah, it has to be the most learned English. It has to be the most learned language in the world, but it doesn't mean that 100% of the human population speaks English. People also need to respect people for learning English. Um, this is a different case. People come over here, uh, exchange students, and they intend to improve their English skills, see American culture and whatnot. And of course, some of them are going to have accents. And I really, really don't like it when people say, "Oh, haha, she has an accent. She has an accent. Look at her." It's like, what? She speaks great English. I don't know why I just used that voice, but she speaks great English, and better English than some people in this country who have lived here all their lives, not saying the Spanish speakers, but English speakers who don't know how to speak English well despite the fact that they are native speakers. Um, so I think we should respect people like that. Um, I have a story I'm going to say. I'm going to get to the point, but the arrogance and the closed-mindedness of the whole situation, it just makes me kind of annoyed, and it's like, why? Especially when most of these people who have the audacity to impose a language on everybody, when they don't learn a language themselves, it doesn't make any sense. So um, that I don't know. It just really gets under my skin. I could just see her the whole time and talking to that French guy. Oh, do you speak English? Another thing when people don't speak English, and then the person who does speak English speaks more slowly, as if that helps. No, it does not help. Um, I went to France. I went to France as I when I lived in Cologne. When I lived in Germany, I wanted to make a trip to France with a bunch of people in my language school, and there was a huge group of us, maybe 40, 50 people, and so I didn't speak any French at that time. I knew two sentences, and I knew "Parlez-vous anglais?" and I knew "Je t'aime," and I knew something that I won't say in this video. And so I saw two friends in a restaurant, and this Portuguese guy basically gave me problems because I didn't speak any French. We ended up speaking in Spanish, but I think that woman in France didn't who was aggravated or annoyed, she should have been motivated to learn French and instead of angered by this man because it motivated me to learn French. It's like, yeah, maybe this French or this Portuguese guy in this restaurant is right that I should learn French. And now I do learn French, not because of him, but just because I like the language. But next time I'll be ready. Um, so so that was the first thing in France, and the second thing in France, which I didn't yell at this guy when he wasn't speaking English, um, when he wasn't speaking English, but this whole situation motivated me more to speak French or to learn French because this guy, I was in Moulin Rouge, and I don't know how I ran into this guy, but he started following me, and I asked him, "Parlez-vous anglais?" He said no, and he tried, this was crazy. He tried touching me or massaging me, and I said, "Get your hands off me!" But then, oh, he doesn't speak English, so I just walked away. He followed me into my hotel, and yeah, so that was scary. That motivated me to be ready with the language. If I go to a certain country, if I go to Italy, then maybe I'll learn a little Italian. But for now, it's just French and German. Um, that wasn't the freaky story, by the way. I just happen to have really weird stories like that. Um, but I have a similar story. When I was in Germany, I lived in Cologne for a year, uh, and they're known for uh, Carnival or Fasching. Some people say one, some say the other. Some are in the north, some are southern Germans. And basically, during this is in February, a lot of people, they get dressed up, they have their clown hat, like their wigs on, and a lot of drinking goes on, and I don't do this. So I was in a bad mood during Carnival because I just, I wanted to go from point A to point B, which was my house, to um, the gym and then back. And so I was on my way, and I wanted to avoid these people, these intoxicated people like the plague, because some of them become rambunctious and they they start stuff, and I didn't want that. So I sit next to this guy who's wearing normal clothes just like me, and so is this place free? He says yes, and I say okay, thank you. Um, and this guy was of African descent, so he's a black guy, and a few stops later, he was the only one who was dressed normal. A few stops later, this guy comes in, and for some reason, I guess uh, we we caught his eye he because we weren't dressed up in crazy costumes, ridiculous costumes. This crazy costumes that just made everything ridiculous because all these people were drunk. and they couldn't, you know, it's hard to behave when you're drunk. And this guy, completely sober, comes up to this guy sitting next to me, and he says in a British accent. Now I'm going to try to speak in a British accent. Um, yeah, so yeah, I don't know who you are, but I guess you guys are tourists here, because you're not really dressed in those clothes. But I really love it. I love it here in Germany, and I love Carnival. You know, I love the people. The people are really nice here in Cologne, and I just love it. Sorry if I butchered the accent. Just wanted to do it for entertainment purposes. Um, so his accent was thick, and this guy sitting next to me, he spoke English at a very decent level, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. What? I didn't understand you." Uh, the British guy flips that. What do you mean you don't understand me? What's wrong with you? Don't you speak English here? Why doesn't everyone speak English here? He flips out and takes it to a whole different level, and he said, "Oh, you black people are so stupid. What's wrong with you?" And then he, throws out the N bomb. So I'm not gonna say that. Um, and I'm just like, I have to keep this. I don't know this guy sitting next to me. I have to keep him back. But then the guy directs his attention to me. He says, "Oh yeah, I bet you're the same as he is. You know, you don't speak any English. You're so stupid and ignorant. So it's crazy, right?" And I said, "Actually, sir, uh, I pulled out my passport and I said, yeah, actually, English is my, I speak fluent English." Wow, that was embarrassing. "I speak fluent English. I'm from America. Here's my passport. You can look at it. Um, but stop wasting my time. Stop wasting our time. Not everyone speaks English, and you should actually respect the language. And if people don't speak English, then okay." So he looks at me. He says, uh, um, where the Americans speak false English anyway, and you should all be ashamed of yourselves. You should speak like the Brits, the people in the UK. And I was just getting really annoyed at this guy because I can't help the way I speak. I speak, well, I speak American English, um, clear American English, and this guy was just really getting on my nerves. He said a few more things, and I just, please just leave us alone, because I really had to control myself now from doing something, because he was getting close to, I thought he was going to hit one of us or something, and that wouldn't have boded well for him. Um, so I, a few stops later, he got off, and he, scratching his head and looked at us, or looked at me. He didn't apologize to the other guy, but he looks at me and he says, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I should have thought before before I spoke, and yeah, I'm really sorry." And I said, "Don't be sorry. Just be glad, because because my stop is later on. If if I had the same stop as you, then we would probably have a problem." So yeah. So anyway, that was that story. Like, just the racist British guy who didn't respect the people, that everyone speaks English in Germany, even though he spoke to me in English, he spoke to the other guy in English, but it was crazy. But anyway, I think we should all you know be more respectful, because languages open us up. And a friend of mine, I visited him in Slovakia, and he said the more languages, the more personalities, the more open we are, the more accepting we are of others, and that everyone's different, and people are not always going to speak English. And if you learn a language, then I don't know. Some of the best conversations I had were in German, and it made me more thankful for learning the language. And still, I learn the language, so yeah. There should be a little motivation to learn a language. So that's all for this video. I have like 4 seconds, so I'll see you later. Ciao.